Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Ben, this is Books with Genghis Khan, and today I have for you the All About Book Titles tag. So I was away last week. I was actually on a trip to Maine, and that was a lot of fun, really beautiful up in New England. And I am coming back in with this fun video since I got tagged by Erudite Adventure, and I really love these prompts. I hadn't seen it before, and I just immediately got thinking about what I've read that could fit and had a lot of fun coming up with this. So hopefully you'll enjoy these prompts. So first, we have a book with a one-word title. And my mind immediately went to The Faithful and the Fallen. Here is Malice. What a great one-word title. And after you read it, I think it really fits the book really well. And the rest of the series, just Valor, Ruin, Wrath. I mean, these titles for this series are a real mood, I think. And just with the singular weapons on each cover, man, I love that whole aesthetic, and each title fits each book and the series so well. So what great titling John Gwynne did there. And another one-word title that I think is very meaningful is Changes by Jim Butcher in the Dresden Files. Every title up to this point had been exactly 2 words long, and here it's this very meaningful shift to the one word, just Changes, and a wonderfully, really impactful title for an incredibly impactful book. So, love that title for that book. Prompt 2, a book with a phrase in the title. Well, most titles are phrases, and they're usually just kind of short noun phrases. But I went with one that's more of a longer clause, and those are kind of rare. And this is just a title I've always loved, and that is 16 Ways to Defend a Walled City by K.J. Parker. So the title of this one really brought me to it and wanted me to try it out, and I did really enjoy it. And I can't wait to read the rest of the Siege trilogy with some more great titles like A Practical Guide for Conquering the World and How to Rule an Empire and Get Away with It. Just wonderfully long titles that are basically whole clauses, so very long phrases, and love them. Prompt 3 is a tough one. That is a book with a whole sentence in the title. And the closest I could come with books that I've read, I think, is this one. And that is Leviathan Wakes. Could have done the same thing for Leviathan Falls, the bookends to the Expanse series by James S.A. Corey. And I don't know if technically that this is a grammatically complete sentence. Leviathan is not a name. If it was just me, that would work, like Ben wakes, because this verb wakes doesn't need an object. So this being Leviathan, though, just common noun, I think we would need it to be like the Leviathan wakes for it to be technically complete, but it's pretty close as a full, complete thought with a subject and a verb. So I'm going with Leviathan Wakes for that one. And a play that I have seen and a movie that is a whole sentence, and it's a title I've always loved, is A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum by Stephen Sondheim. I saw that musical on Broadway when I was younger and saw the movie later in Latin class in high school. And just great title there for a very fun farce of a play. Prompt 4, a book with an unusual word in the title. Now, with a lot of my books being fantasy and sci-fi, that is very easy to find, but I wanted to go with a regular word that's in the dictionary that you just wouldn't see too often on a book title, and that is Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells, the most recent novella in the Murderbot series. So, telemetry is a word that I'm kind of familiar with. It involves, like, triangulating positions and distances, but it's a pretty technical word. And that, I think, is the best title to fit this prompt with that unusual word in there. Prompt 5 is a book with a name in the title. I have a few that I thought would fit really well for this one. First, Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. That's just the name of the main character. That name takes on more and more meaning as you read through that book and the character's backstory. And then another one where the name is very meaningful, Piranesi. Just that one-word name of the narrator, but if you've read it, you know that there's a lot of different things entangled up in this name. So really cool title. And then a book series that's about 25 books long that has a name in every title is the Sharp series by Bernard Cornwell. So this is the first book chronologically, Sharp's Tiger. Every book has Sharps in that title, and a lot of times that title is really aptly named, and that title comes back around in the very last sentence of the book. We might see that title again as the last words, or just in the last sentence, or right near the end. And Cornwell does that really nicely in most of the Sharp books to bring that title back around and create this kind of closed circle feel for the whole book. So yeah, love that each title is after Sharp, our main character, who is our not our only POV, but definitely the main POV throughout all of these books. Prompt 6 is a book with a made-up word in the title. So could have gone with any of my fantasy reads with a kind of made-up fantasy word, like Elantris by Sanderson, just completely made up. But that's easy. But what I find more interesting is what Steven Erikson did with some of his titles, compounding certain regular words into these sort of new words that we don't have in our language to create this fantasy feel, but also give the titles some extra meaning, since I don't know what in the world Elantris means. But this title, Deadhouse Gates, this word Deadhouse, this made-up compound word, it gives this certain feeling, and it is this thing that exists in the books, and so you learn the importance of that as we go. But just a really cool word there, Deadhouse Gates. I love that. And one of my favorite titles in fantasy, The Bone Hunters. After you read this, that title takes on so much meaning, but just the sound of it, The Bone Hunters, what a great vibe for this book in particular. So yeah, love Erikson's made-up compound words. Prompt 7 is a book with a pun in the title, and I got a couple of great puns here. First, probably my favorite, that is Deadbeat by Jim Butcher, book 7 of the Dresden Files. This phrase has a lot of meaning within this book because a lot of it is about necromancers, and they have to beat a drum, essentially, to maintain a rhythm for their kind of zombies that they call to life to stay animated. And so it has that meaning at the same time of just being a pun on the phrase, the idiom deadbeat, for someone who is a good for nothing, not very productive in society. Maybe it's a joke about Harry, but also there's a lot of police procedural elements involved here, and I feel like the beat is something that the cops patrol, and so there's also that aspect. So there's maybe 3 different plays on this phrase that I can see. Love that title for this book too. And another great one is Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. I just love the idiom Fool's Errand, using it out and about in the world in general. Especially after I've read this, I feel like I've used it so many times. Like, oh, that is such a fool's errand of a task. We shouldn't be doing this. What are we doing? But in this book, of course, the fool is a main character. The fool is going on an important errand here. And just great double meaning. Prompt 8 is a book with a title that describes it well. And I wanted to give a shout out to one of my favorite series, and someone who's really good at titles, I think. That is Christopher Rocchio with the Sun Eater series. This is Kingdoms of Death. So that is book number 4. And oh boy, just through this name, you probably know you're in for a bit of a brutal ride in this one. And yeah, it did not mislead. So a very apt title. What a strong and awesome title and cover for this one. And I have a bunch of others that describe really well. Here's Battleground by Jim Butcher. He delivered on this title in this book. Just spectacular. Mostly just one giant action sequence there. And then others, we have Lord of Chaos in the Wheel of Time, The Dark Forest, especially when you finish that book, you realize so much of the book has been about the Dark Forest. And a recent read of mine, Bearhead. This just, I think, hits the nail right on the head with what the book is a lot about. And if you've read this book, you know what it's referring to. I don't want to talk too much for spoiler reasons. But Bearhead, just great cheeky title there. All right, prompt 9, a book with a title that does not describe it well. All right, I have a couple here. Titles that I like the sound of, I like the imagery they evoke. They're very poetic. The problem is they're very abstract, and so they fit this prompt because I just don't see how they describe the books that they are titling. So the first is a Malazan title. That's Midnight Tides. Yeah, I've thought about this one a lot, and I just have... Some of the other titles are pretty obvious in what they're referring to in those books, but this one, very abstract. Great title, but Midnight Tides? Yeah, that does not tell me what's in this book. And then a Wheel of Time title, Crossroads of Twilight. Oh, just... That is such a wonderful and poetic phrase, but yeah, that does not tell me what goes on in this book 10 at all. Maybe for the best, but yeah, definitely don't know really what that title's referring to, even after reading this book. And lastly, prompt 10, a Booktube channel with an amazing name. So I have to go with Rekindled Reader. That's Theo over at that channel. Man, when I saw that channel pop up and that name, I was like, oh my god, that is so great. It's perfect. It has alliteration and just also captures a large part of my journey as well. I know Theo and I have had similar reading journeys of loving reading as a kid and then taking a long break away from it and then eventually coming back to it and being so energized to get back into fantasy and science fiction as an adult. And so it's just such a nice, warm-hearted, cozy feeling name with the fire, the rekindled. That's a great poetic imagery. So love that channel name and great channel. And I'll tag Theo if he has any interest in doing this tag. And I'll also tag a couple other channels who might want to do it. And also I love their names as well. Colin's Corner. What a cozy kind of channel name for that one. And then Andrew at Andrew's Wizardly Reads, which is just a great, fantastic name for a mostly fantasy booktube channel. I love that. So those are my tags. Hope you've enjoyed my answers for these. Tell me any that would be your answers for these prompts if you want, or comment on any of mine that you thought were really apt or maybe not so great in your opinion. But love to hear your thoughts, and I'll catch you later.